We are at the Frontiers of Flight Museum, 6911 Lemmon Avenue. It is where University Boulevard and Lemmon Avenue intersect. I have the pleasure of being with the president of the museum, Sheryl Sutterfield Jones. Sheryl, how are you today?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for being here today.
Super. Tell us a little bit about the museum.
Well, you know, the museum is a gem in the community. If you have not been here, you have to come. And if you have been here, we hope you'll come back because there's always so much to do. Our mission is to educate, inspire, and motivate the next generation. And kids of all ages have that happen when they walk through our doors.
What a wonderful, wonderful goal and objective. Are you going to tour it for us
You know what
today?
I'm going to do? I'm going to give you the expert. I'm going to introduce Bruce Bleakley, who is our museum director. He is a great historian, and he's going to give you a great tour. You will want to come back.
Super. Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
I'm with Bruce Bleakley, and Sheryl said you have the honors today of giving us a tour of the museum. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for being here, and I'd be glad to give you a short tour of some of the major exhibits we have in the museum.
Would you please do that?
Absolutely. We chronicle the history of aviation and spaceflight with several major exhibits and a lot of smaller ones too. But the major elements of our exhibits include the full-size model of the Wright brothers 1903 Wright Flyer, the very first successful flying machine. It's hanging from the ceiling in the main exhibit gallery over a recreation of the Wright brothers workshop that they used at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina during the years that they were doing their experiments there. Further on down the exhibit area, we have the original 1927 Texas Templar monoplane. That's the first aircraft that was built at an aircraft factory here in the state of Texas.
Gee.
Shortly.
And when was that?
That was in 1927. It was used as a mail plane for several years. And then next to that is a Learfan 2100. It's one of the first aircraft to be built completely from composites to save weight. There were only 3 of them built, so we're fortunate to have one of those. It's powered by 2 jet engines, 2 small jet engines, driving a single propeller. As you go on around the exhibit area, hanging from the ceiling next to the American flag, is a reproduction of a British World War I fighter called the Sopwith Pup that flew in 1916 and 1917. Also hanging from the ceiling is a Curtiss JN4 Jenny, which has been restored by a family here in the state of Texas lovingly over the course of about 20 years. And while they were doing the research for this restoration and digging through the paperwork on that very airplane, they discovered that this actual aircraft was here at Love Field, training students to fly in 1918
Really?
For World War I.
Unbelievable.
That's right. On the floor of the main exhibit area below the Curtiss Jenny is a one-of-a-kind aircraft, literally. It is the Vought V-173 Flying Pancake. It's a flying disc that was built as a test model to see if they could develop a wingless aircraft to be used as a fighter on Navy carriers during World War II. The project was canceled at the end of World War II, and so the fighter version never flew, even though they built a couple of prototypes. And finally, over here next to the V-173 is kind of what we consider the flagship of our exhibit aircraft and spacecraft. On loan from the National Air and Space Museum is the original Apollo 7 command module that flew around in Earth orbit in October of 1968. It was the first Apollo spacecraft to carry a 3-man crew, and it validated the redesign of the spacecraft that had to be done after the disastrous fire a year and a half earlier that killed the first 3 crew members that were going to fly on what became to be called Apollo 1. These are some of the main exhibits that we have in this area of the museum. However, throughout the rest of the building, we have other exhibits, including, thanks to Southwest Airlines, a complete Boeing 737-300 passenger jet that sticks out of the north end of the building, partly in the building, partly out. You can actually go into the aircraft while you're inside the building, and as you walk back through the passenger section, you actually go outside the building, but you're still inside the aircraft.
I see. And you can actually go into the aircraft and see the entire, including the entire aircraft, including the pilot section and everything.
You can see into the flight deck. You can see we have a representative section of passenger seats still installed in the aircraft, and then there are also display cases in the back end of the aircraft.
Well, it's been so interesting speaking with you today. We couldn't get everything you had to say on the video because we have to keep it at a normal length, but the viewers need to know that you were a Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force that you really understand these planes backwards and forwards, and you're so nice to give us this tour, and thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.